Hey beautiful people, what is up and welcome back to my channel. Welcome to my little corner of the interwebs, and you guys already saw from today's video that I'm going to be talking about all of the brands that I've cancelled for 2024 and reflecting on 2023. You know, I wanted to do this video before the end of January, but time got away from me, so here we are. And I don't want to dilly-dally because I fully recognize that I am somebody who rambles in the beginning of a video, and if you like me, you just want the creator to get to the video. So I'm trying to just get to the video so that I don't ramble. Anyways, if this is your first time watching me, welcome. I'm Jamila, and on my little corner of the interwebs, I love all things beauty. I particularly love sharing tips and tricks for how to find high-end luxury and indie makeup, skincare, all that fun jazz at the best prices, because I don't believe in paying full price for makeup. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, join the fam. You already know it's a vibe. That being said, for today's video, just to give you guys a little bit of context, this is kind of a part 2, if you want to call it that, because I did this video in 2023 at the beginning of the year. And that's because when I started the year in 2023, I fully recognized that I had lost my good mind. And I had become the person that would buy everything that released, and my pockets, my well-being could not support that. And like I said in that original video, which I'll be sure to link down below, I was inspired by Morgan Tuna's video where she talked about the fact that, is that somebody on the roof? You know what? That's not my business. In her video, she said that she was not going to be purchasing Lisa Eldridge because she had a core list of brands that she would be focusing on for her channel. Granted, Morgan Tuna is a content creator, and that's her full-time job. So she has to be a little bit more strategic with it. I am still considering this a job, but it probably in a slightly different context because this is not my full-time job. This is not what pays my bills or any bills. So that was the inspiration behind the video then. And then it kind of still is the inspiration behind the video now. So what I wanted to do is actually to reflect on the brands that I said I would not be purchasing in 2023. Let you guys know, did I buy or not? Like, what actually happened? Did I stick to my guns? Did I not purchase from the brand? And then are there new brands that will be joining this list in 2024? Or are some of these brands on the list now going to be removed from the list for 2024? Because we're humans, we change our minds, things change. So let's go ahead and dive in. So the first brand that I said I was not going to be purchasing in 2023 was Colourpop. And I'm happy to say that I actually stuck to that. And one of the things that I talked about in that video is that I was not purchasing from Colourpop anymore because it just wasn't for me anymore. When I first started off in makeup, Colourpop was one of those brands that I think is a gateway brand for a lot of us because it's affordable, the quality is fairly decent, it's super duper accessible. You can find it in Ulta now, and it's not going to break the brand. It's not going to break the bank, and for all intents and purposes, the makeup just works. So when I first was really getting into makeup, Colourpop was a great brand, and they had great products to practice on, to test on, but you guys have seen, I'm somebody who shops Pat McGrath and Natasha Denona and some super duper high-end expensive makeup, including really expensive indie makeup as well, not just mainstream. And once you've dived into this world of Patricia, there's no going back. I've said this a couple of times on my channel before. Once you've tried a Pat McGrath eyeshadow palette, you realize what eyeshadow is supposed to do. And since Pat McGrath, I have tried Blend Buddy Mattes and Adept Shimmers and all of these other brands that have showed me the light. So going back to using a Colourpop eyeshadow palette was just not in the cards to me. So I'm happy to say that I did not purchase anything from Colourpop. I was tempted by their Twilight collection, mainly because the color story was actually quite decent. But also, like, I think looking back at it now, I'm like, you didn't want that. It was a little bit of a hype mixed with a fairly decent color story, and I should have left it there. I didn't pick it up because it sold out within like 2 minutes, and I don't think I'm going to pick it up on the restock because there's just no point to me buying it because I already know that I don't like the Colourpop formula anymore. So that's going to actually stay on the list. The next brand that was on my list was Unearthly Cosmetics. And the reason why I was on the list is because when I started buying Unearthly Cosmetics, they were actually called Alien Cosmetics, and the formula wasn't it. I don't know what else to say. The mattes were hard to blend. The shimmers weren't the best. It was pretty sure those private label shimmers. So in terms of quality, it wasn't it. So I actually decluttered all of my Alien Cosmetics palettes. Now, since then, Alien has reformulated to be Unearthly Cosmetics. And from my understanding, and from other creators that I follow, including like actual friends, like Kara, you guys know, from Beauty and the Frizz, really love their formula. Millie Bats the Brow loves their formula. And everyone has said that they've reformulated and this is a much better, much more elevated formula. In addition to their formula being better, they've also repackaged. So you're getting better formula and better quality just all around. Packaging, shadows, etc. So with this reformulation, they seem to have been getting some pretty great reviews across the board. So MebeMe, I was actually curious. I've been curious about the brand. I've been curious about the rebrand, the reformulation. But I've also not been happy with indie prices. But Unearthly had a 50% off sale at the beginning of January. So I picked up 2 of their palettes. Now, it was a pre-order, so I think it's supposed to come in February. Who knows? But 50% off, I was able to pick up 2 palettes. So going into 2024, I'm actually taking them off of my canceled brands list and putting them into the, not even the general admission category, because I haven't even tried the products yet. But I don't know. What would that be called? I don't know what the category would be called, but it'd be like a maybe category because I haven't evaluated them yet. But they're definitely off of the cancel list because they seem to be one of those brands that's growing and improving and getting better. So they're off the cancel list. Okay, the next brand that was on my cancel list was Cleona Cosmetics. This was for a couple of reasons, I believe. I was triggered by their, what was it? The dragon fruit palette. It was squeaky as hell and that bothered me. But also, I think one of the things that I realized is that I was looking for the good singles that I think people rave about, and I didn't get that in the palette, and that left a weird taste in my mouth. Now, I don't think the brand is bad by any means, and I don't want to write it off simply because of that palette experience, because the reality is the reason why it's still off of my list is that I'm not buying singles. When I look at my collection, I'm not somebody that does a lot of BYOPs. There are very, very few occasions where I will reach for a single or my palette of singles to put on my lids. I am typically someone reaching for palettes. So because I don't use singles, it doesn't make sense for brands like Cleona and Terra Moons, and quite frankly, every single indie brand that has a ton of singles to be on my list. Sydney Grace is slightly different because I really only purchase their palettes, and they do put out palettes, which I love. So they get to stay on the list because I buy their palettes. But for the brands that are predominantly single eyeshadows, it just doesn't make sense for me because I'm not using singles. So Cleona is still off of the list, and I didn't buy anything from them last year. They're also not cheap. If we really look at it, a single shadow could run you $15 to $25, $27. They're not cheap. So, and that's just not what I'm going for right now, or ever really. The next brand on the list was Drizzle Cosmetics, which has stayed off of the list. I did not buy anything from Drizzle. They're one of those brands that has that, in my opinion, allegedly, maybe, I'm just covering my ass here. In my opinion, I believe that they have one of those private label formulas that I have in other packages, in other brands' palettes. And one thing that I think they struggled with at the beginning, I don't know if they've improved it, is that they seem to have had a lot of palettes that had issues with the shadows leaking, as in they were just too oily and they would leak into the packaging. I don't have oily lids, but I also don't want to put an eyeshadow that is so oily it's leaking into the cardboard packaging onto my lids. So that sort of quality control issue was something that I was not comfortable with. So I was like, I'm alright, y'all can sit over there. Also was not in love with the packaging generally. And since making that video, I've decluttered all of my Drizzle palettes. It's not a brand that stands out. And as I'm trying to create a more curated collection, it's a brand that I was happy to let go of entirely. If they release something spectacular, I don't think that I would not be willing to put them back on the list. But as of right now, no, they're still off. And I did not buy anything in 2023. So nothing in 2023, and don't plan on buying them in 2024. Okay, Juvia Place. Now, this was a brand that I feel like I was like, okay, I'm not going to buy their eyeshadow palettes, but I'm willing to try their other products. Quite frankly, they have an amazing brow gel. And overall, their lip products, the other things in their lineup are actually quite nice. So For 2024, I'm not buying any palettes. If you watched my declutter video, you would have seen that I decluttered every single one of my Juvia Place palettes. And that was hard, but it was necessary because the reality is I was not using those palettes. It was the same situation as my Colourpop palettes in that they are great quality for what they are, especially if you are a beginner. But the stage in my makeup journey where I'm at now, that's not the formula that I'm going for ever. It's not top 5, it's not top 10. So I decluttered all of those palettes. So I don't think that I'll be picking up any Juvia Place palettes in 2024, but I'm willing to try all of their other products because they tend to release really, really good products. My lips are dry. Now, I'm wearing this Tom Ford lipstick, which is beautiful, but it's so dry. So I'm actually going to add a little bit of my Fenty Gloss Bomb on top because, y'all, I can't take it. I am not a matte lip person, but this is too much. So, quick commercial break as I apply some lip gloss. I swear this camera makes me look so much shinier than I am in real life, and it is quite frustrating. Yes, I'm oily, but like, damn. I always look like I'm frying bacon on my forehead and around my nose. It's just too much. If y'all have tips for how to keep everything fully matte, let me know, because it is annoying as hell. Okay, so we talked about Juvia Place. The next palette on the list was Nabla Cosmetics. One of the issues that I had with Nabla is the fact that their pan sizes were ginormous, and nobody was using that much product. I believe that they, along with Clarity Cosmetics, they've reduced their pan sizes to offer smaller pans. I think regardless of that decrease in the pan size, I'm not interested in the formula. I need to have a very curated collection, and that's just not a brand that I think I'm interested in purchasing from. Do they have some beautiful color stories? Yes, absolutely. I don't think that their formula has changed, and what I found when I had their singles was that the matte formula was just very difficult to blend, and you guys know how I feel about a difficult matte. It's just, it doesn't work for me. So unless the mattes have gotten better, I don't think that I'm going to suddenly change course and be interested in picking up their palettes. So they're off the list. Menagerie Cosmetics. Did I buy? I think I bought things from them in 2023, to be honest. And I've also decluttered them. I am pretty positive I bought a couple of Menagerie products. I think I forgot that they were on the no-buy list. Here's the thing. They have some really nice products, and when I use their palettes, I actually really like them. But I feel like I have to continuously tell myself to use those palettes. Like, I forget about them so often. They get lost in my collection. So having to constantly remind myself to reach for a palette or for a brand is not what I want to do. So now that I kind of remember that I'm not supposed to be buying them, I don't think that I am going to buy them. And I also don't think I'm going to be inclined to purchase them because I just decluttered a couple of my Menagerie palettes. And that is something that I noticed in my declutter, is that when I start decluttering palettes, it's typically by like entire brands. Like there are very few palettes that I declutter like one-offs from a brand. Usually I'm just like, you know what, this just isn't for me anymore. And then I get rid of the entire brand. So I think I'm going to be good going into 2024 not buying from Menagerie. So Chantecaille was another brand that I canceled in 2023. In 2024, they are still on the cancel list because they still don't have products that cater for anybody darker than a brown paper bag. Like, I don't even know what else to say about it. You know, so many brands get shit for having really bad shade ranges, and Chantecaille has been able to kind of skirt under the radar for a very, very long time, and I think we need to stop giving them passes. I get it. They are a skincare brand predominantly, but they also very, very much market themselves as a makeup brand, and they continue to release highlighters, eyeshadows, and all of these other products, but still refuse to give us complexion products for people of deeper skin tones. So I don't want to hear it. I'm over it. As Steven likes to call them, chance and lies. Been there, done that. Still canceled. And I think their skincare is overpriced too. Just saying. I don't know, y'all. It's just not for me. And lastly, from the 2023 list was Colored Rain. I have tried the Color Rain products. I finally got my Safari palette. It was okay. I think that formula would have been great, or was great the year it was released, which I think was at least 5 years ago, maybe. But in 2024, it is so mediocre at best that I was like, wow, waited a year for this? So it did not inspire me to want to buy more products from the brand. I do have a couple of their brushes, which are completely fine. What I do like about their palettes, or their products essentially, is that it's affordable, but I also like, nothing is inspiring me or making me feel very, very excited about the brand, just generally. So I don't think I'm going to be purchasing from them in 2024 either. So those were my 2023 brands that were cancelled, and that was my update on whether or not they stayed cancelled. So next I want to give you guys a couple other brands that I'm adding to this list, and this isn't to be like negative or anything. It's just me forming a more curated collection as I figure out what my style is, what I like, and being better with my finances and not trying to buy from every Tom, Dick, and Harry that releases a product. So newcomer to the list is Kados, because I don't know what Kados is doing, but I know that what they're doing isn't for me. I feel like they've pretty drastically shifted their vision, or whatever you want to call it. And with that shift, it's excluded a lot of people of deeper complexions. Like, their blush release from their last collection could barely blush anybody with a medium complexion, much less light, much less deep. So, you know, and I heard people with light complexions be like, really? So the fact that whatever new direction that they're going in doesn't seem to cater to deeper skin tones just means that I don't think it's for me. They also haven't released an eye product that I found to be particularly interesting in years. And I just decluttered all of my Kados products, which, again, these are the things that indicate for me that I've outgrown a brand. So they are a newcomer to my cancel list. Next up, Oma Beauty. And this is for the sheer fact that I don't even know what's going on with this brand. There seems to be some kind of drama and controversy with the brand since the owner, who is a black woman, or the founder, I should say, who is a black woman, stepped down and the brand was sold to 2 white men. I don't know if I'm particularly bothered by the fact that it was purchased by 2 white men. Does it rub me necessarily the right way? No, because one thing that I loved about the brand is that it was black owned, black founded, all of that. But what I will say is, with that sort of transition, I don't know if the creativity is going to translate all the way through. Like, are they going to change the formula? Are we going to see the same kind of products? So, and I just decluttered a lot of my Oma Beauty palettes because I wasn't using them. The Freedom palette, that was amazing. All the other ones, I wasn't really reaching for them. But with this, like I said, change in leadership or ownership, who knows what's going to happen? And from what I understand, there is controversy behind it because the founder does not support the purchase. So we will actually see where this ends up. But for now, I'm just going to mind my business and be like, you know what? I'm going to keep my money to myself. The third new brand, I should say, to join the list is Vizat. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with Vizat in terms of the quality, the formula. I just don't use it. I have so many Vizat palettes in my collection that are brand new, untouched. And a lot of it I purchased through either Vizat sales, or they somehow end up in like the BoxyCharm / Ipsy drop shop for like super cheap. So I would pick it up there. But what I found is that I'm not obsessed with the formula. Like, you know, they're nice, but they're not the best. Don't get me wrong, the Vizat mattes are amazing. I do think, and you guys know how I feel about the Isam palettes, I think the Vizat mattes are better than the Isam mattes. Just saying, in case you were curious. I like the Vizat mattes better than the Isam ones, and you guys know I love the Isam ones. But the Isam shimmers are way superior to the Vizat mattes. So, the Vizat shimmers, I should say. So, it's interesting because I would love to pair the Vizat mattes with the Isam shimmers, but whatever. But either way, I find myself not reaching for my Vizat palettes. I do need to actually use them and then make a decision on whether or not I'm going to declutter them. And I mean, like, pick a couple, because like I said, I picked up so many of these and haven't used them. They're all brand new. I would much rather figure out if I want to sell them at like as brand new than just have them sitting here being unused. The fourth brand to the list is going to be Nabla Cosmetics. This one is also a brand that I love, you guys. Like, it hurt me to declutter a lot of my Nabla palettes, but it was one I wasn't reaching for. Nabla has, in my opinion, a very, very luxury formula. It's also made in Italy. I think it's kind of similar to Huda Beauty, in my opinion, in that it has a ton of textures, a ton of different formulas in one palette, which makes it very, very unique. It builds like a dream. And it's a UK-based brand. So, like, if you are in the UK, I think it might be a better option for folks out there. But what I found is that I wasn't using it as much as I thought. So, I would buy a palette, it would sit there, and then I would kind of have to force myself and tell myself to use it, like, months later. So, I do think that for my Nabla palettes, one, I think I'll see myself declutter more over time, but also I'm not buying anymore. Been there, done that, didn't use it. So in 2024, I'm not buying any Nabla palettes. Okay, and then the last brand on this list is one that I hemmed and hawed about, and honestly, I don't know if I'm actually going to make it through the year without buying from them, and that's Melt Cosmetics. Melt is a brand that confuses me because I feel like they had such amazing momentum, and then they blew it. And that might be very, very harsh description of what's going on. But I feel like they are really, really digging themselves into a hole for a couple of reasons. I think the biggest issue that I have with Melt Cosmetics is the inconsistency. They are really, really well known for having excellent mattes and subpar shimmers. But I found that even though there are some palettes that have excellent mattes, there are also quite a few palettes where the mattes are complete trash. They don't blend, they don't build, it's patchy, and it's difficult and very not even triggering, but you feel personally attacked and victimized when you work with it. And even their last release, which was the collab that they did with Bailey Syrian, I don't think I've heard great reviews about it. And granted, that's a beautiful color story, but it's an all matte palette. And to hear people complain about the matte formula, I was like, oh, okay. And given that Melt has not only set themselves up, but priced themselves, in my opinion, as a luxury brand, like their palettes retail for the $60 range, which is on par with Natasha Denona and Huda Beauty. If you're pricing yourself at that price point, you have to back it up with some kind of consistent formula. I think Natasha Denona was one of those brands that initially I felt like her palettes didn't have consistent quality, but every palette Natasha has put out in the last 2, maybe 3 years has been consistent quality. So that issue has been rectified. Melt has gotten, in my opinion, probably even more inconsistent over time. And it's one thing to have inconsistent shimmers that people kind of know aren't great, but have consistently good mattes. But now, in my opinion, it feels like it's gotten to the point where both their mattes and their shimmers, you just don't know. Like, are both of them going to be inconsistent? That seems to be a problem. And so much so that their palettes have been increasingly going on sale, both on their own website and on the Sephora website. And it feels ridiculous, in my opinion, to see a palette that is $60 then suddenly be priced at $25. One, it tells me that the margins or the markup is stupid high, and this is probably what it should have been priced at in the first place. But also, I think it shows that people are not purchasing the products because either they're bad quality, because the reviews on a lot of these aren't great, or they are just scared to buy it because they don't know if they're going to get good quality. And not every product that they release comes out on Sephora, so I do believe the Bailey Syrian palette was exclusive to Melt's website. And when you purchase directly from brands, I found that a lot of times it can be harder to return things, you know. It's just more of a hassle than if you buy something from Sephora or Ulta in terms of returning. And spending $60 and not being able to fully return it comfortably is just, it's not chump change. So given the inconsistencies that Melt has had, I don't really feel comfortable buying from the brand. Granted, I did purchase their little fanny pack. Is that what it's called? I feel like there's a more trendy name for it, but I'm a 90s baby. So I know it's as a fanny pack. I purchased their fanny pack during Black Friday, which their Black Friday sale was stupid. I think the fanny pack was originally like $30-something. I paid $10 for it. So I got it at a really great discount. It was completely fine. And for the most part, I don't have a ton of other Melt products. Like, I think I have one highlighter, one blush duo. So like a small amount of products. So I'm not to be quite frank, I'm not interested in anything else Melt puts out besides their palettes. And in my opinion, ever since Amor Riposas, which was superb packaging, everything quality, splendid, ever since that, it's been kind of like a downward trend for the brand. So I'm really hoping that they're able to pick it up and give us another kick-ass holiday collection. But if not, you know, I don't think I'm going to be buying from the brand. And if I do decide to buy anything from the brand, I'm going to wait for the sale, because they've clearly proved that they can put things on sale. So that's kind of where I'm at. So that's where we are. As you can see, we had 10 brands that I canceled in 2023, and only one of them made it off of the canceled list. Oh, I don't think I said this. Urban Decay was one of my 2023 canceled brands, which I think we all know why. I mean, anyways, but 10 canceled brands in 2023. Unearthly Cosmetics is the only one that I've kind of uncancelled. And then I have added 5 new brands to the cancel list for 2024. So that brings me to 14 cancelled brands in total. That's not to say that I can't change my mind. So in the middle of the year, if one of these brands comes out with something absolutely spectacular that I think is worth it, I will go ahead and purchase it. I'm not that rigid, you guys. So just thought I'd give you all that context. Anyways, that's it for today's video. I hope you guys enjoyed hearing all of my cancelled brands. Let me know down below, is there anyone that you've cancelled? Is there any brand that you will not purchase from, period, this year? Put that in the comments down below. And if you don't want to leave a comment, you know what to do. Orange hearts. Orange hearts for the win. As always, I appreciate you guys so much more than you know. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in my next one. Bye!